KBGA Missoula, you're listening to Missing 中国. From today on, as I said, we're going to do each color on the rainbow, unless it is already done. So today is the first one, red. And so, can you relate it to any movies, Mr. C?
Sure. Let's talk about how art begets art begets art begets art. So people talk about appropriation or stealing or whatever, but the truth is great artists learn from the work of previous great artists or previous great art. And for a great example, let's talk about the book Red Harvest by Dashiell Hammett. So Red Harvest is a detective novel by Dashiell Hammett written in the late 20s or 1930s, somewhere around there. Several decades later, a Japanese director named Akira Kurosawa adapted that book, or you might say learned from that book, or stole the story from that book, and made a movie, a samurai movie called Yojimbo. Yojimbo. Dr. Sang has seen Yojimbo.
What does that mean?
I don't know what Yojimbo means, but it's a samurai movie about the samurai who works back and forth for two different families in a small town, which is what Red Harvest is about, a private detective who is basically played ping pong with by two different powerful forces in a small town. So Yojimbo is a very excellent samurai movie, and in the late 1950s and early 1960s, many Western directors, by West I mean the Western Hemisphere, Europe and the United States, started watching Akira Kurosawa movies. And one of those people was Sergio Leone, the great spaghetti Western director. And he, in fact, and Clint Eastwood, who would star in his first spaghetti Western, they were both big fans of Yojimbo. I don't know if they knew that Yojimbo was already based on a previous source material, the book Red Harvest by Dashiell Hammett, but they decided to take inspiration, quote unquote, from Yojimbo, and they made the movie Fistful of Dollars. And if you want to know, I don't want to go too much into Fistful of Dollars. There's a video on YouTube now for the James Whale Bake Sale of Quentin Tarantino introducing Fistful of Dollars. To understand how influential and important Fistful of Dollars is, you should listen to that. It is essentially the first real spaghetti Western. It launched an entire genre of film. So the point, and eventually Akira Kurosawa saw Fistful of Dollars and sued Sergio Leone for plagiarism. And Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood were thrilled by the lawsuit because it meant that their hero, Kurosawa, had seen their movie, Fistful of Dollars. They were happy about that. They were happy to be sued because they wanted the guy to see it, I guess. And the whole point there, or the whole interesting thing there, of course, is that had Dashiell Hammett, I don't know if he was alive then or not, but had he been alive, he could have sued Akira Kurosawa for stealing from Red Harvest. So when we talk about appropriation and this and that, let's just remember that great artists all around the world learn from other great artists from all around the world. That's what art is all about. So that's our lesson involving the word red.
And so it's kind of hard to decide the intellectual property versus learning, right?
No, it's not difficult to decide that at all. The intellectual property belongs to Dashiell Hammett. Today it may be public domain, but technically he's the one that created the story. It's his story. A good artist, as Martin Scorsese, the director, will tell you, a great artist does not pay homage. A great artist steals. If you're a good artist, you can generally slide your influences into your work without being overt about it. Quentin Tarantino is a great example of this, and there are videos that show where he has extracted all of his influences from. But the fact is, if you looked at paintings, right, you would, down the ages, you would see, oh, these painters were influenced by these previous painters. So there's a fine line between intellectual property and just a style or a form that becomes popular and influences more forms.
So influence versus steal. Like if you didn't put significant work in the one and it's very similar to the previous one, then probably we can say that's a steal.
Yes, so there's been some famous cases. This conversation's pretty long, but that's okay. There's some famous cases. For instance, the movie The Terminator. The writer Harlan Ellison noted that there were many similarities between The Terminator, which came out in 1984, and 2 episodes of The Outer Limits that Harlan Ellison wrote in the early 1960s. And he was able to successfully sue the production and the company that owned the movie, enough to the point where they had to put in the end credits that the movie was inspired by his work. This happens every now and then. The director John Carpenter, of course, made Escape from New York, and following Escape from New York, there was a whole slew of imitations of Escape from New York, and at least one person who imitated it has been sued on Carpenter's behalf and had to pay him money or something. I don't know what the penalty is, but it all depends. It all depends on how, like a great artist, we say a great artist steals. A good theft gets away with it. A good thief gets away with the theft, right? So if you're a great artist, it probably means you're great anyway, so it doesn't matter that you're stealing. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, that's a very hard and very interesting discussion. Hope you all enjoy the movies, the book, and the songs here.
What's the name of the book?
Red Harvest.
Very good.